The call came late, a little after midnight. It's funny how moments that shatter your world often arrive without fanfare. Just the shrill ring of a phone in the quiet dark. It was the police. Michael. An accident. Horrific, they said. The kind words fail to capture. My Michael. My only child. Gone in an instant. The first few days were a blur of grief, a thick, suffocating fog that made breathing feel like a physical effort. Sarah, Michael's wife, was lost in her own pain, distant and withdrawn. And then there was Lily, 10 years old, wide-eyed and scared, clutching a worn teddy bear. She looked so small, so fragile. She had just lost her father, her hero. In that moment, amidst the raw, gaping wound of my own loss, a fierce protectiveness surged through me. Michael was gone, but a piece of him remained in Lily. I looked at her, saw his eyes, his stubborn chin, and knew what I had to do. My inheritance, the considerable fortune left to me by my late husband, Michael's father, would be for Lily. Every penny needed, every opportunity she deserved. I wouldn't let her feel her father's absence in a single material way. I would be her rock, her provider, her everything Michael would have been. Don't you worry, sweetheart, I remember telling her, pulling her into my arms. Grandma's here. I'll take care of you. Always. Sarah, wrapped in her own grief, barely acknowledged my declaration. She just nodded faintly, her gaze fixed somewhere far away. It suited me fine. I didn't need her permission or her help. This was between me and my granddaughter. I would honor Michael by ensuring his daughter thrived. The years that followed were a blur of private school tuition bills, orthodontist appointments, dance lessons, summer camps, the latest gadgets Lily desired, and clothes that filled her closet to bursting. Sarah moved into the house Michael and she had shared, a house I had bought for Michael years ago and, in my grief, hadn't gotten around to formally transferring into both their names. It remained legally mine. I covered the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, every single utility bill. I funded their groceries, Sarah's modest personal expenses, everything. Sarah worked part-time eventually, in some quiet office job, but it barely covered her gas money. My money ran their lives. I didn't mind the cost, not initially. It was for Lily. I'd pick her up from school, take her shopping, help her with homework, attend her school plays and recitals. I was there, always. Or so I thought. As Lily grew, a subtle shift occurred. The wide-eyed, clinging child became a teenager. Understandable, of course. But with the teenage years came a coolness, a distance I hadn't anticipated. My calls were met with rushed answers. My offers to spend time together often politely, or not so politely, declined. Dinners at my house became less frequent, fraught with awkward silences. Then David came into the picture. Sarah's high school sweetheart, she called him, giggling like a schoolgirl. A blast from the past. My immediate impression of David was not favorable. He had a shiftiness about him, a way of avoiding direct eye contact. He was charming in a superficial way, but beneath the surface I sensed something hollow, something broken. Michael would have seen it too. David was a charmer, yes, but he was also unreliable. Whispers reached me eventually, quiet mentions of issues, problems with substances. Sarah, blinded by this rekindled romance, seemed oblivious, or perhaps willfully ignorant. They married quietly a few years later. David moved into my house. My house, where Michael had lived, now occupied by this stranger, this man with a cloud hanging over him. And Lily? Lily, instead of turning to me for stability in this new, confusing family dynamic, gravitated towards David. He was the cool parent figure. He'd tell jokes, let her stay up late, buy her things I wouldn't approve of. He was the easy option. My structured support, my rules, my quiet, consistent presence felt, I suppose, like a burden compared to David's chaotic spontaneity. It hurt. God, how it hurt. To see my granddaughter, the child I had poured my heart and my fortune into, choosing him. To see her laugh at his foolish jokes, hang on his every word, while my attempts at connection were met with eye rolls or monosyllabic answers. I remember one Christmas, I bought Lily a car, a nice, safe sedan, her first car. She hugged me, thanked me, but later that day, I overheard her on the phone with a friend, gushing about how David helped pick it out. He has such good taste. David had spent 10 minutes at the dealership, mostly looking at sports cars. It was a small thing, but it chipped away at me, another piece of my effort attributed elsewhere. Another time, I drove 2 hours to watch her in a school play. I sat, in the front row, beaming. Afterwards, I waited by the stage door, holding a bouquet of flowers. She came out, spotted David and Sarah first, ran to them, hugging David tightly. She saw me, waved, said a quick, "Hi, Grandma. Thanks for coming," grabbed the flowers and immediately turned back to show them to David. It wasn't malicious, not overtly, but it was a constant, subtle dismissal. My presence was a given, my support expected, my feelings invisible. I tried talking to Sarah. "He's not good for her, Sarah," I'd say gently. "There are rumors." Sarah would just sigh. "Oh, Martha, you worry too much. David's changed. He makes us happy. Us." It was always us now. Sarah and David, Lily and David. Where did I fit into this us? Despite the growing ache in my chest, the gnawing feeling of being taken for granted, I continued. I paid for her college applications, her visits, her tuition at a respectable university across the state. I paid for her dorm room, her books, her living expenses. Every single bill went through my account. My accountant raised an eyebrow once, looking at the figures. "That's a substantial annual outlay, Martha, purely for your granddaughter's expenses." "It's what Michael would have wanted," I'd reply, shutting down the conversation. It was my cross to bear, my way of honoring my son, even if the recipient seemed oblivious to the weight of the sacrifice. College didn't change things. Lily was busy, she said. Exams, friends, parties. My calls became even less frequent, less personal. Updates came mostly through Sarah, filtered and sanitized. David visited Lily at college more than I did, apparently. Taking her and her friends out, buying them things, playing the generous stepdad role with my money, I suspected. The resentment simmered, a low boil beneath the surface of my carefully constructed composure. Then came the graduation. 4 years of tuition, room and board, books, living expenses, all paid by me. I flew across the country, booked a nice hotel, bought a new dress. I was proud. Proud of her achievement, yes, but also proud of myself. I had gotten her here. Against the odds, against the instability David brought, I had provided the foundation, the security, the funding for her to succeed. This was my moment. 2, a culmination of years of quiet effort. I sat in the audience, a sea of proud families, clutching a bouquet of roses. I spotted Sarah and David a few rows ahead, David looking slightly disheveled, even in his suit. Lily walked across the stage, accepted her diploma, a brief handshake, a smile, and then it was time for the student speaker. Lily. My heart swelled. She was radiant in her cap and gown. I adjusted my glasses, a lump forming in my throat. This was it. She would acknowledge the support, the sacrifice. A simple thank you would be enough. Just an acknowledgement that I had been there, that I had made this possible. She stepped up to the microphone, her voice clear and confident. She thanked the faculty, her friends, her fellow graduates. Standard stuff. Then she paused, her eyes scanning the audience, landing on Sarah and David. A warm, genuine smile spread across her face, a smile I rarely saw directed at me anymore. "And to my family," she began, her voice softening. "Especially my mom, Sarah, and my stepdad, David." My breath hitched. Okay, she's mentioning them first. It's fine. "Mom," she continued, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for your endless love and belief in me. You always pushed me to do my best." My checkbook pushed her, I thought. A cynical voice in my head I usually suppressed. "And David," she said, turning slightly towards him, her voice filled with a warmth that pierced me like a physical blow. "David, thank you for being my rock, for always being there, no matter what, for your guidance, your support, your incredible sense of humor that got me through the tough times. You stepped into my life when I needed a father figure the most, and you filled that role with so much love. I wouldn't be here today, achieving my dreams, without you. You are my inspiration." She went on to say a few more things, wrapping up her speech to polite applause. My applause was silent, frozen. She hadn't mentioned me. Not a word, not a single syllable about the thousands upon thousands of dollars, the missed opportunities in my own life, the years of emotional strain, the foundation I had single-handedly built that allowed her to stand on that stage. David, the man who lived in my house, likely used my money to occasionally treat her. The man with questionable habits. He was the rock, the inspiration, the reason she was there. It wasn't just hurt anymore. It was an ice storm, sweeping through my veins. It was a cold, absolute clarity. The years of quiet resentment, of feeling invisible, of the subtle slights, culminated in this public, undeniable erasure of my existence in her journey. I wasn't just taken for granted. I was irrelevant, replaced, willfully forgotten. As the ceremony ended, people milled about, congratulating graduates. Sarah and David embraced Lily, tears in Sarah's eyes. I watched them, detached, the bouquet of roses feeling heavy and ridiculous in my hand. Lily finally spotted me standing a little ways off. She smiled, a bright social smile that didn't reach her eyes, and waved. She started walking towards me, but then David put an arm around her shoulder, saying something that made her laugh, and they got caught up in the crowd. She never made it over. That was the precise moment the transformation was complete. The grieving mother, the supportive grandmother, dissolved. What was left was Martha, a woman who had been wronged, deeply and irrevocably. A woman with considerable resources and absolutely nothing left to lose when it came to emotional investment in that girl. I didn't make a scene. I didn't confront her. I simply turned, walked out of the auditorium, and left the roses on an empty seat. I drove back to my hotel in a state of icy calm. The hurt was still there, a dull ache, but it was overshadowed by a chilling resolve. They had taken my generosity, my love, my sacrifice, and thrown it back in my face, credited it to a man who was little more than a parasite. Well, fine. If I was so irrelevant, so unnecessary, let's see how they fared without any of it. That night, I began making calls. The first was to my bank. I systematically shut down every account Sarah had access to, canceled every credit card I paid for in her name or Lily's. I stopped the direct deposits for their living expenses. Every automatic bill payment linked to their lives, utilities for the house, car insurance for the car I'd given Lily, phone bills, I canceled them all. I wanted the financial taps turned off, completely and without warning. The next call was to my lawyer, Mr. Davies, a shrewd, efficient man who handled my estate. "Arthur," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "I need to discuss some property matters. Specifically, the house Sarah and Lily are living in. It's in my name, isn't it?" "Yes, Martha," he confirmed, a note of surprise in his voice. We never completed the transfer after Michael passed. Good, I said. I want them out, immediately. Start the eviction process tomorrow morning. Full legal proceedings. No extensions, no favors. I want them served as quickly as possible. Arthur paused. Martha, are you certain? This is Sarah, Michael's widow. And Lily? I am absolutely certain, Arthur. I cut him off, my voice like ice. They are living in my house, rent-free, and that arrangement is over. I want them gone. The next call was about the car. The nice sedan I'd given Lily for graduation. I had, presciently it turned out, kept the title in my name, listing myself as the lien holder, even though I'd paid cash. It was a common estate planning move, easily reversed later, but I'd never gotten around to it. Arthur, I said, calling him back. The car I gave Lily, the sedan. I need it repossessed. This time, the silence on the other end was longer. Repossessed, Martha? Like forcibly taken back? Precisely, I said. It's legally mine. I want it picked up from wherever she is, the college campus or wherever she left it, as soon as the legal notice can be issued. I want the keys. I want the car. And I want her to understand that gift came with conditions she failed to meet. I spent the next few days executing my plan with a chilling calm. Notifications were sent. Legal documents were filed. I imagined the cascade of events unfolding at their end. The card being declined at the grocery store, the power going out, the bank calling about missed payments, the shock when the eviction notice was served, the utter disbelief when the tow truck arrived for the car. The calls started soon after. From Sarah first. Hysterical voicemails. Martha, what is happening? My card isn't working. They shut off the electricity. What did you do? I deleted them without listening to the end. Then Lily. Texts initially. Confused, then increasingly frantic. Grandma? Why is my card declined? What's going on? Followed by, Grandma? The landlord said, We have to leave the house? Is this some kind of mistake? Then, a barrage. My car is gone. Someone stole it. Grandma, call the police. Finally, a pleading voicemail from Lily, her voice cracking. Grandma, please. We have nowhere to go. What are you doing? How could you do this? After everything, please just call me back. After everything. The irony was not lost on me. After everything I had done. After everything they had done. I didn't reply. Not to Sarah. Not to Lily. My silence was my power now. They had taken my voice, my contribution, and erased it publicly. Now I was taking away their security, their comfort, their very foundation. It was a cold, hard form of justice. They wanted to pretend I didn't exist. Fine. Let them see what life was like when my existence, and the wealth that came with it, was actively withdrawn. Let them rely on David's support now. I pictured him, unreliable, and likely deep in his own issues, being their sole provider. The karma, I felt, was already unfolding. David tried calling too a few times, blustering, demanding to know what I thought I was doing, threatening. I simply blocked his number. He was irrelevant. My business was with Sarah and Lily. The eviction went through. It was brutal, I'm sure. Their belongings piled on the curb, nowhere immediately to go. David's problems likely made it impossible for them to find anything decent quickly, or even afford a motel for long. I didn't witness it, but Arthur kept me informed. His tone was hesitant, almost disapproving, but he carried out my instructions to the letter. The car was back in my garage, a tangible symbol of a gift unappreciated, now reclaimed. They were adrift, homeless, broke, carless. The life I had meticulously built for them. The safety net I had provided out of love for Michael and duty to Lily was gone, shredded by my own hand. And I felt, not remorse, a deep, quiet satisfaction. A sense of equilibrium restored, albeit brutally. They had treated me as if I didn't matter, as if my contributions were invisible. Now, my absence was a gaping, painful wound in their lives. My thoughts then turned to the future, and my inheritance. $50 million. Michael's legacy, in a way. It was always intended in my mind to benefit Michael's descendants, which meant Lily. But Lily had shown me, unequivocally, that she didn't value me, didn't respect the source of her comfort. Giving her that money would be rewarding her in gratitude, fueling the life she wanted to live with David, perhaps even enabling his problems indirectly. Over my dead body. I thought of Mark, my nephew, my brother's son. Mark wasn't wealthy. He was a good man, a teacher, dedicated and kind. He'd lost his own parents years ago. He called me regularly, visited when he could, listened patiently, remembered my birthday. He never asked for anything. He simply offered genuine affection and respect. He saw me, Martha, not just a bank account. My decision was easy. Crystal clear. I called Arthur again. Arthur, I need to update my will. The entire estate. Everything goes to my nephew, Mark Vance. Arthur was surprised again, understandably. Martha, are you certain? Not a portion for Lily? Not a penny, Arthur, I said firmly. My reasons are my own, and they are sound. I want it ironclad. Make sure there are no loopholes, nothing that can be contested. My intentions are clear. He drew up the new will. I signed it, feeling a profound sense of peace. My fortune, built on my husband's hard work and my own careful management, would go to someone who deserved it. Someone who valued family and loyalty. It would provide security and opportunity for Mark, who had shown me consistent kindness, not the calculated indifference I received from Lily. News of my actions, the eviction, the cutoff, must have rippled through whatever sparse social circles Sarah had left, and perhaps word of my revised will reached them through the grapevine. Or maybe I made sure it did, a final twist of the knife. Because then came the legal threats. Arthur received the first letter. From a cut-rate lawyer, full of bluster about undue influence, challenging my mental capacity, claiming Lily was a dependent, and I had a moral obligation. Moral obligation. The audacity was breathtaking. They had no qualms about taking my money, for years while offering nothing in return. But when I exercised my right to stop, I had a moral failing. They're threatening to contest the will, Martha, Arthur explained over the phone, sounding weary, and potentially pursue some form of support claim now, arguing you've left them destitute after years of providing. I felt a surge of something hot and fierce. They wanted a fight? Fine. I had the resources for a war. Arthur, I said, my voice regaining some of its old steel, I want you to hire the best litigation team in the state. Money is no object. I want these claims not just defended against. I want them crushed. I want their legal efforts to cost them dearly. I want to make it so financially painful for them to pursue this, they will regret the day they ever considered it. This was the final act of my retribution. They sought to use the law, the very system I had lived by, to force their way into my fortune, the fortune they felt entitled to despite their behavior. I would use that same system, amplified by the wealth they craved, to utterly demolish their claim. My money wouldn't just go to Mark. It would be actively used to keep it out of their hands, to bury them in legal costs and futility. The legal battle, if you could call it that, was swift and decisive. My legal team was formidable. They easily batted away the claims of undue influence. I was sharp, articulate, and had a clear, documented history of my decision-making. The argument for dependency was laughed out of court. Lily was an adult college graduate. My right to dispose of my property as I saw fit was absolute, especially with a well-executed will and clear evidence that I was of sound mind. Their lawyer was outmatched, outmaneuvered, and eventually they ran out of money to pay him. The case was dismissed. They had gained nothing, lost what little resources they might have scraped together, and incurred significant legal debt. Karma. Some might call it revenge. To me, it was a necessary correction, a rebalancing. They had built a life of comfort, an expectation on my foundation, while offering nothing but neglect and ultimately public humiliation. When that foundation was removed, they crumbled. Their attempt to seize my legacy through legal means failed spectacularly, thanks to the very wealth they believed they deserved. I haven't seen Lily or Sarah since the graduation. I don't know where they live, how they manage. I assume David is still in the picture, for better or worse. Their lives are no longer my concern. My focus is on Mark now, ensuring he understands the responsibility that comes with the inheritance, watching him build a secure future. Sometimes, in the quiet of the evening, I think of Michael. I hope he understands that my decision, though harsh, was born from the pain of losing him and the deeper pain of being erased by the child he left behind. I protected Lily. I provided for her. I sacrificed for years. And when my love and generosity were discarded, I protected myself, my legacy, and found a different path for the future he never had. The house is sold now. The car is gone. The physical ties are severed. The emotional ones were cut long ago, severed by a graduation speech and sealed by a legal battle. My heart still aches for the son I lost, but the space where my granddaughter used to reside is now a place of quiet, unyielding resolve. I was wronged, and I corrected it. The inheritance goes to Mark, the house is gone, the car is gone, and they are left to face the life they built without me. And in that, I have found a measure of peace. A cold peace, perhaps, but mine nonetheless.